Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going deep on a film that, well, it's more than just swords and sandals.
Yeah.
It's Ridley Scott's Gladiator.
Absolutely.
And we've got this really incredible review to kind of unpack some of the movie's themes and the great visuals and the acting. And I'm really excited to talk about, why this film still resonates with people even today.
Yeah, what I find fascinating about Gladiator is how it takes, that familiar revenge plot.
Right.
But it also, layers it with all of these really universal themes about, resilience and redemption. Take Maximus's opening line, for example, after that big battle in Germania. My signal to attack will be when I fall.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
Right away, we see his dedication to duty.
Yeah.
His willingness to sacrifice himself. And that kind of foreshadows his whole journey throughout the film.
Totally.
Even when everything is taken away from him, he still finds a way to fight back.
Yeah, you really connect with Maximus right away.
You do.
And as he goes through all of this just unimaginable loss and betrayal,
yeah,
you just feel for him so much. But I think what's even more interesting is that his drive for revenge is really powerful.
Right.
But through it all, he manages to hold on to his morals and his sense of honor.
Exactly.
Even with all of this corruption surrounding him.
Yeah, and I think that's where Gladiator really goes beyond just being an action movie.
For sure.
We see Maximus going through all of this grief and rage and despair, but he never really gives in to all of the darkness that, consumes Commodus.
Right.
He holds on to this goodness inside of him, this belief in a better world, and that's what allows him to overcome all of the horrible things that happen to him.
Yeah.
And he becomes this symbol of hope, not just for himself, but for all the people of Rome.
I mean, we can't talk about Gladiator without talking about Russell Crowe's performance.
We can't.
I mean, just his intensity and that quiet strength that he brings to Maximus.
Yeah.
It's unforgettable.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that iconic line, "Are you not entertained?"
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's not just some boast. It's a challenge to all of those, Roman elites. Right.
It's like he's exposing how empty their lives are and how hypocritical they are.
Yeah.
And Crowe delivers that line with such raw power.
Yeah.
It just gives me chills.
Totally. And while we're talking about amazing acting, we have to mention Joaquin Phoenix as Commodus.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about an antagonist you love to hate.
He's so good.
He's brilliant. He really embodies just Commodus's pettiness and jealousy and how desperate he is for power. It's chilling.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that scene where he murders his own father.
Oh, gosh.
So disturbing,
Yeah.
but so powerful.
Yeah.
It really showcases Phoenix's amazing range as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
Both Crowe and Phoenix have given us so many just remarkable performances throughout their careers.
Oh, they have.
I mean, just think about Crowe in A Beautiful Mind or Phoenix and Joker.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, talk about actors who can completely transform themselves for a role.
Absolutely. Speaking of transformation, let's talk about the visuals in Gladiator.
Okay.
Ridley Scott created this vision of ancient Rome that is both beautiful and terrifying at the same time.
I mean, the grandeur of the Colosseum, the cityscapes, the brutality of the gladiatorial arena.
Yeah.
It all comes together to create this world that just feels so real.
The way he uses light and shadow is amazing,
It is.
especially in the scenes in the Colosseum.
Yeah.
So you're transported back in time, and the color palette, too.
Oh, yeah.
The rich golds and reds and
Yeah.
how they contrast with all the grime and darkness of the underworld.
Yeah, it's all very deliberate.
Yeah.
He's creating a visual language to reinforce all of the themes in the film.
Okay, so we've got these amazing actors, these stunning visuals. But what really takes Gladiator to the next level is how all of these elements work together
Yeah.
to explore those, timeless themes about power and corruption and the fight for justice.
Right.
I mean, it's set in ancient Rome, but it speaks to a lot of the anxieties we have today.
It does. And that's why it's still so powerful today.
Yeah.
It's not just some historical epic. It's a story about human nature. About the choices that we make when things get really tough. It's asking us to think about what we would sacrifice for power, what we'd be willing to fight for, and what it really means to be a good person in a world that often rewards, cruelty and greed.
And those are questions that are just as important now as they were 2,000 years ago.
They are.
I mean, look at how the film portrays the Roman elite and how decadent and corrupt they are and how obsessed they are with violence and spectacle.
Right.
It feels really familiar in a way, doesn't it?
It does. Gladiator's this really powerful reminder that the struggle for power injustice and human dignity are not just things in history books. They're battles that we're all fighting every single day.
It's like the film is holding up a mirror to us and making us confront these hard truths about ourselves and the world.
Yeah, and think about the part we play in either propping up these systems of power or challenging them.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what makes Gladiator more than just entertainment. It's a film that makes us think critically about the world and to stand up for what we believe in, even when it seems impossible.
And that's definitely a message that speaks to people no matter what time period they live in.
Absolutely. It's not just the themes that make Gladiator so great.
Right.
I mean, the film is just a masterclass in visual storytelling.
It really is.
Ridley Scott just uses all of these different techniques to pull us into the story and to make us feel everything that the characters are feeling.
Yeah, one thing that always stands out to me is the way he contrasts those big sweeping shots of ancient Rome with the close-ups during the fights.
Oh, yeah.
It's like we're experiencing both the grandeur of the empire and the really brutal reality of what life was like in the arena.
And that's such a good point. Those wide shots really establish the scale and the power of Rome.
Yeah.
And they just visually reinforce this idea of an empire that was built on conquest and domination.
Yeah.
But then those tight close-ups during the battles, they bring us right into the heart of the action.
Yeah.
You see the sweat, the blood, the fear in the gladiator's eyes.
Oh, yeah. It's intense.
And it reminds us that even in this giant empire, individual lives are at stake.
Totally.
Each with their own story, their own hopes and dreams.
The way he edits those battle scenes is amazing, too.
It is.
With those quick cuts and slow-motion sequences. It's like this brutal ballet.
It is.
This dance of death that's both terrifying and beautiful at the same time.
Absolutely. The editing creates this rhythm, this sense of tension and release that just keeps you on the edge of your seat.
It does.
And speaking of tension, we have to talk about Hans Zimmer's score.
Oh, the music.
I mean, it's one of the most iconic film scores of all time.
Yeah.
And it perfectly captures the epic scope of the story and all the emotional turmoil that the characters are going through.
Every time I hear that music, I get goosebumps.
Me too.
The way it swells during the battles and then becomes so quiet and almost mournful in the quieter scenes.
So powerful.
It really is. It's like the music becomes another character in the film, guiding our emotions, adding all these extra layers of meaning to the story.
I've never thought of it like that, but yeah, you're totally right.
Think about the main theme, that haunting melody.
Oh, yeah.
It starts as this sad lament for Maximus's family.
Right.
And then it changes into this battle cry, a symbol of how resilient he is and how determined he is.
Yeah.
It's like a musical representation of his whole character arc.
Wow.
How he transforms from, a grieving husband and father into this symbol of hope for everyone who's oppressed.
That's brilliant. It's like the music is giving voice to everything he's feeling inside.
Yeah.
His grief, his anger, his hope for redemption.
It's no wonder that Gladiator has become such a huge cultural phenomenon.
It really has.
I mean, the lines, the visuals, the music,
it's
all instantly recognizable, and it's been referenced and parodied so many times.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's a testament to how powerful the film is and how it just connects with people on this emotional level.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And speaking of connections.
Yeah.
Have you noticed how certain objects in the film start to take on this symbolic meaning?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like those little wooden figures that Maximus carries with him?
Yeah. What about those?
I think they represent his family, his connection to this simpler, happier life that he had.
Right.
It's like they're a reminder of why he keeps fighting.
Totally. They're a physical symbol of his love and his hope.
Yeah.
This little piece of his humanity that he manages to hold on to in this brutal arena.
Yeah.
And then there's the dirt, the earth.
Oh, yeah.
It keeps showing up throughout the film.
And from that opening battle in Germania.
Yeah, all the way to the final scene in the Colosseum.
Now that you mention it, the dirt is important.
Yes.
Maximus is covered in it all the time when he's a gladiator.
Yeah.
I think it symbolizes his fall from grace.
Okay.
You know how he's been forced into this underworld.
But it's also a symbol of rebirth.
Oh, how so?
Remember when he buries those little figures in the dirt of the Colosseum?
Oh, yeah.
It's like he's planting a seed, a seed of hope for a better future.
And then he dies in the arena in that last scene.
Yeah.
But his body is taken out and placed in a field of wheat.
Right.
So he's returned to the earth.
It's such a powerful image.
It is.
And it connects to the whole idea of redemption and the cycle of life and death.
Right.
It suggests that even with all of the suffering and loss, there's still hope for something better. a return to this more natural, harmonious existence.
All these layers of symbols and metaphors really add something special to Gladiator.
They do.
I mean, it's no wonder that it's inspired so many other historical epics.
So many.
I mean, films like Troy and 300 and Kingdom of Heaven.
Yeah.
They all seem to draw from Gladiator in terms of the visuals and the themes.
Absolutely. Gladiator really brought new life to the genre. It proved that historical epics could be entertaining.
For sure.
But also make you think.
Right.
And I think it inspired filmmakers to look at history in new and more interesting ways.
It's also interesting how Gladiator kind of turns some of the traditional historical epic tropes on their head.
Yeah. How so?
It's not just about celebrating military power or the glory of an empire.
Yeah.
It actually criticizes how corrupting power can be and how brutal war really is.
That's a great point. It makes us look past that romanticized image of ancient Rome.
Right.
And think about what it actually cost to build an empire.
Yeah.
You know, all the cruelty and injustice that was hidden behind all of that power and glory.
And it does all of that.
Yeah.
In a way that is both visually spectacular and emotionally impactful.
It does. Gladiator is a film that stays with you long after you've seen it.
He really does.
The images, the themes, they stick with you.
Yeah.
They make you think about your own values and your place in the world.
It's a film that you can watch over and over again.
Yeah.
And you'll find new things every time.
Yeah, exactly. And it reminds us how powerful storytelling can be.
Yeah.
How it can transport us to other worlds.
Right.
How it can challenge our beliefs. And how it can connect us to something bigger than ourselves.
I think that's a great point.
Yeah.
I think that's a good place to stop for now.
Okay.
We've covered a lot, but there's still more to discuss about this amazing film.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the acting and the visuals, the music, the themes.
Yeah.
But in your opinion, what makes Gladiator a modern classic?
You know, it's how all of those things come together to create this really powerful experience for the viewer.
Right.
But if I had to pick just one thing, I think it's how the film explores what it means to be human.
Okay.
You know, it's about that struggle between good and evil, about how power can corrupt people, and about how we all search for meaning and redemption in our lives.
And those are themes that people can relate to.
They are.
No matter what culture they come from or what time period they live in.
Exactly. It reminds us that even when we're facing really tough times,
Yeah.
we're still capable of courage and compassion and hope.
I think it's also interesting how Gladiator uses the setting of ancient Rome to explore these themes.
Yeah.
The gladiatorial arena is like a smaller version of the Roman Empire itself.
Right.
It's this place where life and death are just entertainment, where people use power in really brutal ways.
Yeah.
And where trying to achieve glory can make people compromise their morals.
The arena is like this tested ground for Maximus's character.
Yeah, I see that.
It's where he has to face his inner demons, his anger, and his desire for revenge.
Right.
But it's also where he finds his true strength and his purpose and his compassion.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful metaphor for the challenges we all face in life.
And the film doesn't try to hide how brutal that world was.
No, it doesn't.
The violence is graphic and intense.
It is.
But it's not just there for shock value.
Right.
It's showing us the real consequences of what happens when people abuse their power.
Yeah, and the dehumanizing effects of violence.
It makes us think about how we view violence, both as individuals and as a society.
Gladiator reminds us that violence doesn't solve problems.
Yeah.
In the end, it just leads to more suffering and destruction.
The film also criticizes the Roman elite pretty harshly.
It does.
You know how decadent and corrupt they are?
Yeah.
And how little they care about human life?
Commodus is a perfect example of that.
Yeah.
He shows how power can corrupt someone completely if they don't have any checks and balances.
Right.
And it reminds us that power isn't inherently bad.
It's how you use it.
Exactly. What matters is how we choose to use it.
Maximus is a good example of that.
Yeah.
Even though he's a powerful general, he never abuses his power.
He always tries to do what's right.
Yeah. And he never loses his compassion for others.
That's why he becomes such a strong symbol of hope for the Roman people.
Right.
He represents a different kind of leadership.
Yeah.
One based on justice and empathy and doing what's best for everyone.
And that message is really relevant today.
It is.
I mean, we see so many examples of corrupt and abusive leaders in the world.
Gladiator reminds us that we can demand better from our leaders.
Yeah.
And we can hold them accountable for what they do.
It's a reminder that we're not just passive bystanders in life.
No, we're not.
We have the power to create our own destinies.
I do.
And to fight for a world that's more just and compassionate.
That's the ultimate message of Gladiator.
I agree.
Even when things are dark and hopeless, there's always hope.
Always a chance for redemption.
And the possibility that we can make a difference in the world.
It's been awesome diving deep into Gladiator today.
It has.
It's such a thought-provoking and entertaining film.
Yeah.
A real cinematic masterpiece that people are still watching and talking about.
Absolutely.
And for anyone listening who hasn't seen it yet,
I
definitely recommend checking it out.
You won't regret it.
You won't be disappointed.